So you became the Lions Club president the beginning of this month?
Yes,
So
I did.
how long is the term? A year or two? Or
Generally 2 years. Yeah, that's what our bylaws have.
okay,
So some clubs alter that, but yeah.
it's okay. And so how did you land in this area? I mean, you're living in Black Earth. How did you? Where were you living before?
We were living outside of Columbus, Ohio.
Oh,
We've moved around a lot. We've lived in San Antonio, and we've lived in Cleveland and Dayton. We've hit almost all the major cities in Ohio.
okay.
So, yeah. But we came here when my husband got a job with Kuna Mutual, which I don't even, now it's True Stage. They rebranded.
Really, I didn't know that. CUNA Mutual. Yeah, it's been that since its beginning back
Yep.
a long time ago. A lot of people work
Yes.
at CUNA.
Yes.
And what does he do for CUNA?
He's in corporate communications.
He is.
Yeah.
So like, not to get too far off in the weeds, but what does he do for that? Like he communicates information to other companies, or
Well, no, he supports departments within True Stage.
Okay.
And it always has been changing with each year. So he just will help them focus their energies and their thoughts and their writings and their speeches and things like that. So
okay.
he's the strategist behind it all.
Okay.
Well, behind the departments he supports.
Got it. And has he done that kind of all of his career, that kind of
Yeah.
communication
yeah.
stuff?
Yeah, he's one of those that puts a spin on things all the time. I was always use that power for good and not evil. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. So you're the, and when we first talked, I was asking about this because you don't know this, but there's always been there was a long time, for many, many decades, a long time rivalry between Black Earth and Meso. Maybe you've heard of that.
Heard of that.
Yeah. It's not the same as it was when there were two high schools in Meso and Black Earth. But for you the first thing I thought, and I'm not a rivalist type person at all, but I thought, well, she lives in Black Earth, but she's the Lions Club for Meso. How did that happen? I mean, you had a backstory about that. Your growing up years and
Yes.
such.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's a good question. My father was in Lions Club since 1957. And so I grew up around it all my life. And we'd often have even like leader dogs that would be at our house for a short term when they were going to be given to the, blind people that were receiving the dogs at the time. My dad was district governor a couple times, and it was just our life. And so I was used to it, and I think it's a great way to be involved in the community and give to the community. And it wasn't until I really got involved, though, as an adult, that I understood the dynamics of how significant their help and assistance is. Because I was kind of looking into this before I came over, because I was like, I know they've been around since like 19-something, and it was in 1917, and then it was just a businessman in Chicago that was rounding up other businessmen saying, we really do need to be serving the community and the world in general for betterment. And by 1924, it became an international organization when Canada got involved. And then in 1925, they had an international convention with just Canada and the United States. And Helen Keller came and presented to them and asked them to be I wrote it down because I thought it was so significant. I thought this has to be on a T-shirt. The Knights of the Blind in the Crusade Against Darkness. And that's where that's when they became people who were really out to serve the blind and the vision impaired. And so that's their primary push. But it was through Helen Keller's influence that came into play. Now they have several pillars that they support. Am I going on too long?
No.
They're supporting hunger, youth, childhood cancer, diabetes, because that's the leading cause of blindness, environment, general humanitarian, because they have grants that people can, like when we've been having all these floods and disasters all over, they can actually apply for a grant through the Lions Foundation. And the Mazomanie area received such a grant during the flood back in 2018.
Sure.
So there's a lot of different areas. So it's not just locally, but it's really significant.
Yeah, don't feel like you're going on, because here's a reason, is maybe a lot of people know about the Lions Club. But here I've lived in Mazomanie all of my life and gone down to the Lions Club Park all of my life, basically. I mean, I don't remember exactly. It was like the middle 60s when I was a little kid that they started that park. But I don't know anything about the Lions Club. I don't know anything about it. Everything you've told me basically is news. Now, I did know, I thought it was Verna Wallace that was collecting eyeglasses.
Oh, yeah.
And that's for the Lions Club.
Yes, and she's our current secretary, too.
Okay.
So
that's why she's collecting eyeglasses.
Well,
I didn't know.
We all are, but she's kind of heading that up.
Yeah.
And we are also just starting, which is on my notes that I wanted to make certain, we're starting to collect hearing aids.
Okay.
Because that's something else they're starting to collect. And that is very significant. I'm sorry, I'm going to look to you. When was that? Back in April? There was a law passed where we collect those eyeglasses and they get cleaned up and they get analyzed as to what the prescription is. And then they would get sent off in missions to like Guatemala and things like this with a team from Lions Club along with some doctors and such, and they would give people glasses. And there was some kind of law passed in the spring that allowed us to distribute them in the United States. And we were able to be a part of that, my daughters and I, along with some other members of the Mazo Lions Club. And we were distributing glasses to people here in Middleton. Well, in Middleton.
Yeah.
We were partnering up with forgive me, I don't remember the name of the eye place, again with an S. But they would do an exam and then they'd send them our way. And then we would try to pair them up with the best match possible.
Sure.
And these were people who just couldn't afford it and they couldn't afford a vision exam. And so it was significant. But
I didn't know that the Lions Club had anything to do with any of that.
Really?
So that's an eye-opening experience for me.
Well, really, you know what? It's just a bunch of good people that just want to make a difference. And they're really helping just really people just in great need. So
I know Mazomaniites who are, I know a lot of people around here, and I know people that are part of the Lions Club. I can name names, but I didn't know exactly what they did. I knew they maintained the park and, did a few other things, but I didn't know they had that far-reaching of a charitable reach.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's very significant. In fact, and we're hoping to, I think even just the club members in general, we just have to be reminded of, and during this next year, we're going to be having different people who represent different branches of the Lions Foundation and the eye bank and I don't know, whatever. They're going to come to our club, just kind of educate our club members as well as to this is what we're doing and this is why.
Yeah. It's not, if you have time, it's not boring to me at all. And I don't think it'll be boring to the people that are watching this simply because I think there's more people in my camp than you would think. Even those that live in a small town like Mazo have a big, have a small population and probably have people, neighbors and such that maybe have volunteered for the Lions Club, but they don't know exactly, what they do and the history.
Right.
Do you know much about, so you've lived in the area for how long?
About 4.5 years.
Okay. So do you know, here's another transparent fact. I got on your website just before you got here. I didn't even know you had a website. So I was looking around and I saw a picture there of 1950. I think that was the year that maybe Mazo had their first, they were inducted or incorporated as a Lions Club.
That sounds about
charter.
right. Yeah, because we had a 70th anniversary. Yeah,
I was looking through names to see if any of my relatives were on there that they were Lions Club members, and I'm like, I don't even know that. I didn't know that. But do you know the history much of the Mazo?
The Mazo, I do not know much of the history, and like Judy Curtis or Sharon Craney or Dick Royston, they would be excellent
Those
resources.
Those are the names I was going to name, but I thought I would. Yeah,
they're the people. We'll have meetings and they'll talk about it's by this house who was owned by that and that family and that family. And
right. Yeah, that's and just they probably tell you too, just be careful who you talk about around here because everybody's related. Even if they have like multiple different last names, they're all intertwined. So we've had Dick Royston on the couch a couple of times to talk with him. And so maybe we'll get him back to talk about the Lions Club, or you can come together and he can be the historian and you can be the current person.
I've kind of adopted the role of just listening because we get all sorts of guests on here, and it's like I'm only 27, so I don't. Like the downtown wasn't a big thing growing up. Yeah, didn't know what the chamber did, didn't know what the Lions Club did. All sorts of things that are coming out of the woodwork.
We're always looking for members.
And exactly every time we say that about something, they always say we're always looking for members.
Well, it's really interesting because, like I said, it's not a. I remember because I was in Lions Club back in Ohio too, and people would often think it's a networking thing, and it's really not. It's really just, and that's what my dad would always say. It's a philanthropic. It's totally philanthropic, totally service. You're not in it to what you can get out of it, although you do receive so much because you're doing something that's really benefiting people. But so we're always looking. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Oh, okay,
good.
You don't have to be. I
have to be 35, born in America or something like that.
No.
Do you have you have a board? Or so you're the president,
right?
Can you tell us who the other members of the?
Yes. So Verna Wallace is my secretary, and then Gary Balwig, who was from Mazo, and he's living in Black Earth, and he's my treasurer. And then we have what's called a tail twister, and his wife Debbie Balwig is our tail twister. Tail twister is the one who keeps things moving, keeps people from talking too long, confine you.
That's a nice.
They have fun. They have fun, and it's just a way to have the meetings be more fun. That's their responsibility. There's other jobs too, but we don't necessarily always have the people to fill them because we have over 40. I think we're over 43. We're over 43, and we're getting some more new members, but meetings aren't mandatory. And so you don't have to show up at our meetings. I mean, it's great if you can because you're more abreast as to what's going on. But just being available for our service projects is where we really need the people. That's where we need boots on the ground.
So there's 43 paying members, but then do you have other people that are more just volunteer but not members, or is it basically all the paying members that are also the volunteers?
It's basically the members, but we bring in, I bring in my family when, they're coming and helping because they were helping with the glasses. They help at, I don't know, they've helped at Anderson and Shapiro. Thank you.
Wendy's getting prompts from her one of her daughters, her
backstage.
advisor backstage. So we won't even say the name of her daughter because.
But I don't remember what I was talking about now. But thank you. Yeah, I would have felt bad.
Yeah, you can. Again, we're really laid back. You can just prompt her if there's some things she's missing. Because the whole thing, Wendy, what we want to do is we want to talk about. Hudson gives every little thing of the organizations that come on here, the Mazo, like Chamber Chat. What's the other one? The music.
I call it the MMC Roundup, which is the Mazomanie Music Conservancy.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we have a bunch of organizations that come monthly.
It's not that impressive.
Yeah, and he's going to call your segment the Lion's Share. But anyway, we're going to get to that eventually and focus on just August, what you have coming up, or something in the near future. But maybe for a little bit longer, we can talk a little bit more about the Lions Club in Mazo, or nationally, or whatever. So if you need some prompts there, we're happy to hear.
Well, one thing I did forget about at Anderson Shapiro, what was interesting, the doors opened at 7:30, I think, and we did the afternoon shift, and it was much quieter, but we still had a steady stream. But there were tons of people just waiting, at least a half an hour or more just to make certain they got in. And so that was really good. We couldn't give glasses to children, but we were able to do the exams, and they were getting glasses for children, but we don't have them. And they were also doing hearing tests because they are distributing hearing aids as well. And that was something we found that there was a greater need than we realized. So we didn't have enough people we didn't have enough people doing hearing tests. And so that's something that we're going to ramp up in the future.
We have people who have never seen. They're driving here and they can't see.
They were driving here.
Oh, you really are doing a public service then, aren't you?
Yeah, it was really fun. Because they would they put the glasses on and then they would turn and we'd have them look at a painting that was up against the wall, and they would be like, "Oh," I was like, tough. "Oh," because I remember like when my sister got glasses and I was like, "Oh, there are leaves on the trees." Yeah, so that was kind of like that for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is there? Are there other things then that the Lions Club does? And I'm not talking like specifically this coming month that we'll highlight in a little bit, but you talked about the hearing aid. You talked about the eyeglasses. Mm-hmm. Are there other?
Yeah. There's tons. One thing they do the cornea transplants. That is really cool. That is something I want to make certain we have somebody come, and Adam Croson he works for the Lions Eye Bank, and we have people who all over the state, and there's all over all the states that are cornea transplant people. They'll bring it as far. It's kind of like a Pony Express type thing, and when there is corneas that are harvested and they get, they know they need to be taken right away, they will be taking them then from, a certain part, and they'll be taken then by the next person to get them where they need to be. And so each club has a couple of people who will function as those transport people for a couple of months out of the year. So I know for Mazo, I know for certain it's December. I can't remember what the other month is off the top of my head. But that's our month, that if there are any that are coming near our area, we would pick them up and then transport them a little bit farther. And I learned at the state convention, because we have state conventions and then they have international conventions. And the international conventions, they take place all over the world because there's over 200 countries that are part of this. And in fact, I feel like it actually seems more prolific internationally than it is in the United States. But the international convention this year was in Boston. So it was actually here in the States. So that's cool. Next year, I'm not certain where it's at. 2 years, it's in Mexico City. But anyway, just from the state of Wisconsin, we had provided over 780 corneas for people who needed them here within the state of Wisconsin. And then we had enough that we were able to send outside of the United States, and I don't know if it was outside and even internationally, it was over 1,000 just from the state of Wisconsin. So that really shows how important it is to be an organ donor, too.
Do you know what corneas are?
It's part of your eye.
It's the white part, correct? Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure.
See, I don't.
Pretty sure the cornea.
She's gonna look it up.
We're gonna have a research.
Watch me be wrong right on the cameras here. And
that's
like,
okay.
You gotta be
It's
kidding
not the
me.
first time we've been wrong in front of the cameras.
Oh, well, no,
sure, so.
I have.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know.
I always thought it was the white.
But they
part of your eye,
which
is weird. I don't know how you transplant that.
I don't know. I just know that that's.
These are parts.
And I might be wrong.
No, it's the hard part that's behind your pupil.
The hard part. It's the lens.
Okay.
Okay.
The lens, not the lens.
Okay. No, well, it's we all learned
have
something.
to just kick me off the show now because I was wrong.
So there's those three things, and I'm sure there's other things as well. Maybe too many to highlight even.
Oh, they also, because they support diabetes so strongly, and we're really advocates of that, which I can get into in a little bit. But because I have 2 type 1 diabetics. That one is not one of them. My oldest and my youngest are type 1 diabetics. And so we're strong family advocates of supporting research and such for type 1 diabetes. They do walks and things like that, and they really do support and try to educate people. And so that's something that I know as I'm working with the club these next 2 years, that's something I really want to do. Because I think a lot of times people don't even realize they're type 1 or type 2 diabetic.
Sure.
They're having symptoms and they aren't even aware of it.
So maybe you want to move into that in this part, and then was that going to be something you talked about for August?
That was one of the things. Yes,
okay.
It was.
Well, we'll have to wait then.
I can hit on that one first right away.
Yeah, but first let's do this, because what we're going to do is we're going to break this up.
Okay.
We're going to have just a little interview with you.
Okay.
We just had that little interview
Okay.
about the Lions Club in general, and then we were going to have the Lions share.
Okay.
And that if you're welcome to come back once a month.
I would
talk.
Like that to promote our club activities.
Yeah, we have the rest of the people.
We usually do.
The rest of the people are doing that as well.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Before we move on, you told us a fact about yourself that you used to be, or you still do, sing opera?
Yeah, I was a lyric soprano. I was a classically trained lyric soprano. I sang opera. I did oratorios. I did some solo work and things like that. Yeah.
How do you find out you can do that just by messing around as a kid, or is that just is that how you sing always? It's just in that type of. I don't even know if that's.
I don't know.
Fair to say.
No. I grew up in a real musical family anyway, so it was like, the kind where somebody always was playing the piano and people would end up singing, and singing randomly in the house was very common. I thought everybody did that, and.
Everybody does in our house, but nobody has gotten onto the stage to do
definitely not opera.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it was just something I really enjoyed, and I had a significant success just in my growing up years in high school and stuff, that I thought this is something I could do, and I pursued it. But at the same time, I was having 5 kids during it all, so that really was my top priority. I am a mom first, and I will gladly accept that. I did retire after child number 4 because it was just too difficult for rehearsals and just all of the rigmarole you have to go through, the touring and stuff. It's just takes you away from your family too much.
Do you have to practice obviously to be at that level?
You do.
You have to practice a lot, but
you do.
I mean, do you belt out some operas every once in a while? No,
I don't.
The kids won't let you probably.
Well,
they say, "Mom."
Spontaneously. Actually, my operatic sounds come out when something has happened, like I don't know, like you've dropped something, or reach for a hot pan, or all of a sudden you realize you're supposed to be doing something and you're not. There will be a vocalization.
Okay.
But I don't
it's
really.
It's a yelling opera or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's not anything I think about. It happens. But no, I haven't really sung much in quite a while, and so I used to be a lyric soprano. A lyric soprano, it kind of sounds like a Snow White.
Oh.
It's almost childlike sounding. Yeah. It's very that was what I was, and I had a very, very, very high range. But I've lost probably about six steps down. So, I mean, I used to go, but not anymore. And that's okay.
But so now like Jim Schrader from the Music Conservancy and all these people will be saying, "Hey, come on, let's get her to come and sing for us." So you'll be recruited now to probably do some singing or something. Everybody mutually recruits for their different organizations.
My dream, it's really funny. I learned how to be, singing opera and stuff. And I loved the challenge of it. And I loved singing in the different languages and stuff. But ultimately, my dream desire was to be a lounge lizard and sing just standards.
Huh.
That's like, but I have an opera voice, so I don't know if that works.
So you can't sing in a lounge, huh?
No, I don't know. I could probably get by, but it wouldn't quite sound the same. I think a little bit of opera kind of pops out once in a while.
We're not tremendously, and the people that watch this will know this isn't a surprise to them. We're not tremendously sophisticated. So you're the first opera singer that we've ever met and had on the show.
Okay.
So this is like
that's okay.
highbrow. This is
no.
very.
No.
We're going to get a whole new group of people that are listening to watching us.
No. And I I didn't really sing around the house that much because when I was singing more so, I used to, when I would be practicing for something and working out a bit, a portion or something, the kids would always be like, "Mommy, it's so loud." So no.
Yeah. Well, other pursuits, other important pursuits.
You guys have beautiful speaking voices.
Thank you.
I was just, when I heard you guys talk, I was like, oh, they would make excellent baritones or basses.
Well,
he sang more than I have.
Yeah.
Baritone or bass?
I sang bass in some, but it was probably more of a baritone. But they forced, sometimes they didn't have somebody low enough to go down, so they had me do that.
You'd probably make a good singer too.
Well,
yeah, he does sing
I
well.
like to sing. Yes,
there you go.
Yeah, but
we've done some singing on our podcast.
I'm fairly shy
some singing at Christmas time. But.
I was always asked to do like the talent shows in high school and stuff like that, and choir and stuff like that, and I just was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway.
No, well, my kids don't even sing around me. They're like, no. And I know they can all sing. They just don't.
Well, you have anything
No,
else?
I just
okay. That was all very interesting. Again, we'll maybe find out more about the Lions Club as we have you on in coming weeks.